Welcome to the Authenticus podcast, the show that covers everything related to delivering digital transformation in large organizations. Your hosts, Jacob and Jesper, will share their own stories and unfiltered views as they guide you through delivery of digital transformation.
Here we are again.
Yes, we are.
Welcome to the second episode of Authenticus.
I know. It's. I can't believe we've now done the intro and our first one. It feels like we're getting into the flow of things.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah.
So this one is about the speed of technology.
Yes.
The speed of the pace
I know.
that we as humans, organizations are facing.
Yeah, and it's a subject that's close to my heart because obviously between you and I'm the more technical one, even though we both cover the business side. But reality is just that in the modern landscape of things and the way things are progressing, at the very least it seems like the speed of technological change is becoming just ever faster and faster and faster. The reason it's close to my heart is obviously because my career has all been about solution architecture. How do you size and design IT systems so they are not best of breed, because that's a word I hate.
No, you hate that. You hate that word.
I hate that word.
You hate that word
with a passion.
Yeah.
Because it indicates that there's one way of doing things to make everyone the best, and if everyone's the best, no one's the best. Mm-hmm. So I prefer to always talk about best fit for the organization and where they are today and where they want to go.
Yes.
And this is in particular where, from an architectural perspective, that it can be quite challenging with the speed that all of the different suppliers are releasing new technology. And not just new technology, it can also just be new features in the existing ecosystem of products and softwares.
And how do you see that coming into? If I'm sitting on the client side, how do you see that affecting me as a client?
It's a good question. I have a really good example actually from a recent project I did. So in DAG, which is my service company, we our very first client that we got on board because of this particular problem. The project didn't end well, but we'll cover that in a separate episode. But the reason we won them was because they had a partner in before us, and they had looked at they'd done the due diligence. They've done what you call the pre-phase, so they knew the requirements and all that.
Yes.
However, the partner and the resources they had kind of provided to kind of assess these requirements against how can their future architecture and IT landscape look like. They were just not up to speed with the latest features of the kind of the core product, and also they didn't quite understand what other functionality was out there in the surrounding technology, because there was so much new. So it was one of those cases where they were just relying on the old proven approaches. And the issue with that is, for this particular client, is that it ended up with basically the partner saying, right, 50% of what your business needs to do, so also what you would call your requirement list, there's no fit within standard softwares. Just no fit.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very, very high percentage, 50%.
Exactly, especially when it comes to like the modern world where you have so much available.
Yes.
You should never hit that kind of percentage. So, and that means that really half of what the business is doing. So I'm not going to say half of the IT system because it all scales in ways differently. But half of what the business had to do had to be developed, which is insane.
Had to be custom built, had to be built from scratch.
Exactly, it's insane. It shouldn't happen today,
No.
and there should be alarm bells going off if anyone gets that kind of a reply to the requirements. So we came in and we assessed the same requirements, and we came up with a number that was, I think, 16-17% was a gap.
Okay, so much lower than the 50%.
Much lower
than the 50%.
Exactly. So it's like 1/3, right, of what was not deemed a fit was basically all of a sudden something we could put into standard solutions, softwares, and all that. And the key differentiator there was that we had made an upfront effort before we assessed the requirements to understand all of the new technologies that was available to us. So to me, that's a really, really good example. Then the flip side of that, obviously, is that when you start incorporating new technology into your solution architecture, then you start facing issues with basically the resources that's available and understand these technologies. So if you're relying on kind of old proven methods, well, then there's people around that's been hands-on with that, and there's plenty of them quite often.
Yeah, because that's what I've seen on the other side is, you were implementing, let's say, Microsoft Dynamics 365, finance operation, but you had resources available who had most of the experience within some of the older legacy systems, which meant that they,
their mindset and
their mindset was on the old setup.
Yeah. And it's a big issue because, if you as a client end up with someone who's delivering into you and who doesn't understand these, the latest features and technologies, then you are going to be missing out. You might end up just developing it yourself. You could end up being less competitive in the market.
Yes.
So the best of breed is definitely not happening in those cases. You might end up having a more costly solution, an IT infrastructure to manage. You can just continue, right? You can end up with such an old design that the people who are actually knowledgeable and hungry for learning more, they don't want to work for you because you can't offer them the opportunity.
No, you cannot attract, or like you cannot hold on to the people
exactly
within the organization. And I've seen that too.
Yeah.
I've seen that too. That the legacy, or the push from the legacy towards the new was actually based on what you say here.
It's so you can keep yourself
attractive.
As an attractive organization that invests in people and knowledge. So that's the flip side of the coin. If you end up in that situation that you just talked about, where you're relying on old knowledge as well. But going back to the topic itself, I think I don't know if it's actually if the kind of the main technologies are being if the pace of that is faster. But I do feel like the technologies that are available to us are evolving a lot faster, if that makes sense. And that evolution or the release of new functionality is being kind of less and less tested by the software vendors that's releasing it. So basically you're allowing your customers to be closer and closer to what you would call the bleeding edge of technology, with all of the pros and cons. So that could be like obviously, our backgrounds are mainly from the Microsoft ecosystem, even though we've been involved with all of the other ecosystems, SAP, Oracle, you name it.
Yeah.
But I think actually, I see IBM and also Microsoft being particularly bad in almost releasing functionality that is almost up to the service providers, the partners, the customers, the individual consultants or developers to figure out how to use and implement.
Yes.
And it's so new that you can't even go back to the software supplier to ask for help. So you are basically pilot testing some of these features, which is, in a way, it's really, really amazing because you get to learn, work with the latest and greatest if you are genuinely keeping yourself up to date with things. On the other hand, you're left to your own, you're just left to yourself.
Yeah, because my question is, when something goes wrong, which obviously easily can do that when you're first movers on some of the technology parts.
Yeah.
Who do you call for help? Let's say you are not even an enterprise client. Do you get the right attention from Microsoft? Do you get the right attention from your partner if something
Exactly.
Is there clear?
Does your partner even have if it's new technology, yes, the partner or whoever's supporting you, they might have been on an introduction course somewhere, but no one can claim that they've already implemented this. It just, someone has to be the first. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of challenges.
But it comes with a cost, you can say. It comes with a cost. It comes with a high risk.
It does.
If you are,
It does, yeah. And I think like at least as far as how this should be adopted and how we can adopt it is something we'll cover in a separate episode, obviously. But I think if I kind of just go back to at least my background around this, then which is very much working on the architectural side of it, or solution-wise and enterprise-wise, then the good things I'm seeing is that the let's say best of breed architecture. So I'm going to use it here because when it comes to architecture or the overall design of solutions, there are kind of some frameworks that you should or can keep to, and those, I can call those best of breed. Whereas the solution for the customer, I don't want to call that best of breed, best fit. But what we've seen there is, I don't know, you remember if we went back 20 years, or not even 15 years, then every digital transformation you would end up doing would basically be what you call a monolithic solution.
Yes.
Yeah. So
you would try to build as much core functionality if it was an ERP implementation into one system.
Exactly.
Software spend
millions and
millions
years
building this perfect solution for your headquarter, and if you had
and that solution is perfect for that point in time, but it ends up being so heavy that if you change a parameter or a gear somewhere, everything has to be tested again.
Yes.
Which means that once that is live, it was so hard to keep maintaining it and keeping it competitive. And this is where I say that at least the architecture is moving on and in my mind starting to support this speed of technological change that we're seeing. So we're moving towards today the standard is more what you call a service-oriented architecture.
Yes.
So instead of looking at, we need one thing that can do the whole thing.
One size fits all.
Yeah, we're starting to look at business functions. So maybe it's procurement or specifically invoice handling. And we look at, what would be the best fit here? Which is, that could be put it into your core system because, there's financial postings around it anyway. And if there's decent functionality there, yes, let's do it. Or if the organization has some very specific requirements, or it's such a critical process that it makes sense to have a specific software for it, then we do that now. So we can carve out business functions or processes and operations into different softwares, and then we just make them talk together now.
Yeah, we integrate them.
Yeah, so that's what you call this, service-oriented architecture, which to me is the key, at least, to being able to, handle and adopt the all of the changes that we're seeing. So yeah.
So also what I'm hearing you say is that you break to eat the elephant in smaller parts. You break it down into smaller areas.
Exactly.
Which I'm a big believer in.
Exactly.
Both in terms of how to deliver good solutions to clients, but also in terms of the project itself.
Because then going back to, let's say, an invoicing solution. So we both know what an invoice is. But if you had to change that in the future, then at least you can, because it's already separated out, then you can basically take that component, either upgrade it or just change it out completely without affecting the rest of your architecture or ecosystem of products.
Yeah.
You just need to make sure that it's the same information that goes back and forth in those digital pipes between. Yes, so to me that's the way to go. Then obviously there's other topics like microservice architecture, which is for most clients a step too far. But I'm not going to touch on that now. But I do want to kind of dive more into how we can manage the adoption, both on the client side and with partners, and also like for individual resources.
Because I think that as you obviously already have done, putting focus on the technology itself and where we're moving. I also think it's stressing a lot of the organizations. So I think that's also something we'll talk about in the next episode.
Yeah. So I think this is a good point to kind of end it. And let's just jump into the weeds of it from an adoption perspective.
Yeah, the adoption.
Which is obviously also something that is closer to your heart, because that's where there's a lot of change management, and this is where the people element comes into it as well.
Good.
Then
cheers and coffee.
Cheers. See you in the next one.
See you in the next one.